They are the things that are part of the BPS requirements. So they are the things that the BPS will want to have evidence of from students. So I think highlighting that from an early stage gets students thinking about what they might need to work on, what skills they have got, and what they might need to kind of carry on. Traditionally, students do struggle with critical evaluation, I would say, is one of the most difficult things, because before undergrad, typically they might not do that so much. A lot of the A-level stuff is memory testing. They might not have as much of the critical evaluation, referencing and things like that. So that's where we've started to bring that in. It's the who, what, when, where, why. We use the analogy of bums on a seat. And I think it's really important in psychology, but not to take things for face value. I mean, Dan, you were going to talk about in the media, weren't you, and how sometimes studies are reported in the media. Yeah, you go for it.
Yeah, so we give an example in the book how sometimes the media take report the findings of a research article, but it can be misrepresented. So it's important really not to take things at face value, and to have a critical hat on to really evaluate the data and come up with your own interpretation as well, not just what someone else says that what these findings are. But there was also the folk you asked about research. I mean, ultimately, all students need to be able to conduct psychological research, and ultimately it epitomised by the third year dissertation. And in order to do that, students need to engage with qualitative and quantitative research, and quite often there can be a fear of one or the other, mostly stats. So there's something called stats fear or stats anxiety. And sometimes a consequence of that is students shying away from or engaging with those kinds of sessions. And what we try and suggest in the book is ways to overcome those kinds of fears. And we put forward what the pitfalls and what you need to do to succeed in those types of modules and strategies that you can endorse.
Absolutely. I think you asked us about academic integrity as well, and that's woven in throughout all of the modules, really, in terms of thinking about ethics, thinking about things like plagiarism, what it is, how people can get caught up in plagiarism knowingly and unknowingly. And again, that might be something that's they've not come across before, something that I know a lot of, or most institutions, if not all, take really seriously. So it's giving them that kind of heads up of, this is a real thing, this is how you can kind of avoid it, this is what it is. And that links them with research, so the proper reporting of research and referencing, and just acting with integrity generally, because that's, again, another requirement of the BPS in terms of ethical considerations. Being able to look at a situation and thinking about, how do I act? What are my options? Do I do nothing? Do I need to go and speak to somebody, or could I do this? And then that will follow them through into work as well. So if they do go into research, academia, and even practice, it's that having that integrity.
It is important for students to be able to critically evaluate the state of the research. But there is a replication crisis also in psychology at the moment, where historically there have been up to 30% of some classic studies over a certain period of time that haven't been able to be replicated. So we need to instill in students the good awareness of good research practices to try and avoid the sorts of errors that have led to these types of crises. So yeah, we try and instill good ethics, good practice from the start, ultimately.